Another great week of rugby league, one that Winfield has taken a great deal of pleasure in presenting again for you in this capsulised edition. As we leave the program this week though, let's go behind the scenes to a man in his first year in a first grade coaching role. His name, the fellow they called the Little Bull in his playing days at South Sydney, who else but George Piggins.
George, it's now some 8 years since you stopped playing. What have you done in that time?
Well, I just shot myself into business, really. We've got this nursery here, and I had a trucking business and a sports store. So the last 8 years I've been pretty busy. I've just concentrated on business, really.
I suppose the image of George Piggins, the player, is very unlike George Piggins, the nursery owner. How did you get into that?
Well, funny, I mean, my brother went up to Queensland on a holiday, and he came back and he said, I think a nursery would be a good business to get in. And as children, we all worked in your uncle's nursery. And I said, yeah, I know where the site is, you know. I said, up here on Gardeners Road. And he said, well, you want to go in one? So from there in, we just went out and we found out who had the lease, and we bought the lease off the people who had it. And it took us about 5 years of going through government departments to get the nursery, but we finally came up with it.
It's a beautiful setup here. You could almost hit a golf ball from your tea house down to the adjacent golf course.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful here. The golf course is magnificent, and it's just a beautiful place to come.
I believe that you've patented a lift load of the trucks.
Well, Bill, you know, I had a transport business, and the thing came about that if you didn't put it into a van, you're going to lose the contract, and I had to set about designing something to put the product in a van, and I came up with this idea of loading the product on a lift loader, which allowed me to cart 40 pallets instead of 20, which, you know, made me pretty competitive against the opposition, and that way I finished up getting the whole transport business off the company.
I believe there's quite a humorous story attached to your first ever truck.
Yeah, I bought it at about 3 o'clock, I insured it at 4, and I wrote it off at 5.
George, you've developed an affiliation for horses to the point where you're now a registered strapper with Les Bridges stable.
Yeah, I like race horses. As a young bloke, we used to have them at home, and one day when the coaching's finished, I'd like to go into horse training. The reason being, I don't like dropping people from football, Bill, like out of the team and that, and when you get some bloke says, what'd you drop me for? You know, like, you got to give them an answer. Well, you know, like, and you get blokes to do heaps of tackles and that, and you think, well, I've gone for a little bit more attack on that, and you drop him, well, you can't give him much of an answer, you know, and I don't like that. And
the horses can't talk back.
Well, they can't. You just put them in a can of pallet, they can't run.
The boy can bring dedication, devotion to turning on